Okay, friends and veterans, we're all friends here today. It's a hard act to follow Dennis. We've been in court now several occasions. Mel has been in court with Dennis on every single occasion that he's been in Belfast. Dennis is a dignified, ill man. He should not be in court, and as he rightly said, he could get a medical exemption from attending a trial. But Dennis is an honourable man, as all veterans were when we served here, at the behest of the government, fighting a terrorist war. I would ask each and every one of you, if you can be, to be at the Crown Court on the 9th of March. The case is liable to go on for about 3 weeks. Hideous decision that Dennis will probably be doing 3 days in court and 2 days on kidney dialysis. Where is the justice? Where is the justice? There is none, you're right. I would just like to thank the PUP representative that came up, and we've got TUV representatives as well today. We've not, unless they're hiding, got any DUP, nor UUP. Despite the fact that they're well aware that we're here today speaking. As well as Dennis, we've also got David Holden. David Holden is due to be in court next week on the 9th of February to be arraigned again for a manslaughter. David Holden was an 18-year-old guardsman.
14.
Valentine's Day, that's my wife, how could she forget? David Holden was an 18-year-old guardsman, and he was involved in a tragic accident. It was an accident, and somebody was killed by a ricochet. By definition, it's an uncontrolled projectile. But David Holden, as a young 18-year-old, he's now a 49-year-old, is in court, and he's not doing well, particularly well mentally, and he won't mind me saying that. He's not doing particularly well family. He didn't do a long time in the military. He'd done 3 years before he left, and shamefully he has been brought back. But I was in Dungannon Court when a judge decided that he would be returned for trial, and the reasons she gave were vague. And his barrister actually done a very, very good job defending him. And when you were sitting in court, people to my left here were in court as well, you never thought that David Holden would be going for trial. You thought he couldn't possibly be going for trial with the evidence. And there was no new evidence. So despite what Boris Johnson is saying in his new proposals, that the investigations, the vexatious investigations, whatever that means, against police and soldiers, although the police haven't been fully covered in yet, we'll come to that in a sec, but against soldiers will stop, and any adds a caveat, unless there is new evidence. My friends, that new evidence 100 yards up that road, turn left up Castle Street, is being prepared there, probably on overtime, at the Finucane Centre. They are fabricating the evidence as we stand here today, so new evidence will not be a problem to take soldiers to court. But apart from that, the prosecutor, the PPS and Dungannon Courthouse stood up when the defence for David Holden had proved inconclusively that there was no new evidence, that everything that was being used against David Holden had been tested previously when David Holden all charges were dropped. The PPS stood up and unequivocally stated they do not need new evidence to reopen any case. So what Johnson's saying on one hand is being contradicted by what the PPS in Northern Ireland are saying on the other hand. We have a long, long way to go, my friends, before we get the protective legislation for both our military and our police that held the line against terrorism and defeated terrorism in Northern Ireland. So why are soldiers facing court? And Dennis referred to the HIT, he actually meant the HIU. The Historical Inquiries Unit has been agreed between Sinn Féin and the DUP, page 8 of the legacy proposals from the 2014 Stormont House Agreement. The DUP are now trying to row back on it to too little, too late, and it's not going to happen. The Historical Inquiries Unit will be formed and the legacy proposals will be enacted 100 days after the treacherous New Deal New Approach was signed at Stormont. The DUP knew this, they knew it beforehand, and they had agreed to it. They're now desperately trying to roll back, wash their hands. We've seen a letter recently written by Arlene Foster to Boris Johnson asking for amendments on the pathetic excuse that the agreement was made 5 years ago in 2014, coming on to 6 years ago, so therefore we need to have a fresh look at it. What was good for them in 2014, what has changed in 2019, apart from the fact that they've given Sinn Féin more enablers to disrupt this country through a commission-led Irish Language Act. I've actually been criticised for being too harsh on the DUP by some people.
Not harsh on being on it. Tell it as you see it. Tell the truth about them.
I'm not apologising, believe me. So why are we facing this today? It's nothing to do with justice, we know that. And the Sinn Féin strategy since the DNR, the Ulster Unionist Party, signed the Good Friday Agreement and handed decisions over to terrorists. From that DNR, Sinn Féin have been engaged in the strategy of rewriting history. And history is being rewritten every single day. And we're now seeing the results of that history being rewritten. And you have to say their propaganda machine is good. It far outstrips anything that we've got working for us. The world believe it. Republicanism has always been built in victimhood, not real victimhood, fabricated victimhood. So these victimhood that these people push out, and we're the bad guys. We're the bad guys. And the British Army, 727 died serving in this country. They're the bad guys. And the propaganda and the decisions that are coming out in their favour, which is appeasement, nothing more than appeasement, by politicians that sit up at Stormont and politicians that sit at Westminster, that allow terrorists to make decisions. It was mentioned there, the military covenant, which isn't a great success in GB, I might add. But the military covenant was stymied by Sinn Féin at Stormont. We have terrorists deciding what can be enacted, what protective legislation can be enacted for our lawfully deployed military. We then get the SOP. We then get the SOP from the DUP. And I met the DUP on the Monday before they signed the agreement. They did not decide it on the Thursday night or the Friday night before the Saturday. Edwin Poots told me categorically at a meeting that they had agreed to a commission-led Irish Language Act. He tried to fob it off that the Irish Language Commissioner would have little power. He'll not be a fully fledged commissioner. We all know. But it was signed and agreed way before the announcement, and we went through the charade and the choreography that they had a meeting before to discuss it. It was discussed and agreed weeks before. And in that, Sinn Féin, I don't know, what have they got over the DUP? I mean, between them, they've got more skeletons in their cupboards than Burke and Hare. But what have they got?
Corruption.
Corruption. Money. We've certainly got money. We're watching Arlene Foster at the minute. We're watching, and we've seen the Paul Quinn case, and I'm certainly not going to comment on the guilt or otherwise of Paul Quinn. And even if he was as guilty as Mr. Conor Murphy says, would that have justified what happened to that young man? No, of course it wouldn't. But it shows the barbarity and the brutality of Irish Republican terrorists that we lived with for 50 years. And while people are up in arms over the Paul Quinn, and rightly so, why are these people not up in arms about the people from our communities that suffered the same fate and worse at the hands of these terrorists for many, many years? These terrorists that we're now letting sit in government in Stormont. So the rewriting of history, my friends, is what is driving. It's what is driving, and they're persistent and they never relent. And our politicians, bar one man at Stormont, our politicians capitulate. And I've been pulled for accusing them of capitulating with terrorists. Well, I'll go further than that today. They collaborate with terrorists. It is worse than capitulation. I shared a platform on several occasions with DUP elected representatives, mainly from Westminster, in the run-up to the general election. When I thought that the PUL community, whatever we want to call it, I thought unionists were finally coming together. I thought the Betrayal Act was the one thing that would bring us together. And I shared platforms on the Shankill Road, Newton Ards, East Belfast, and the other Fermanagh, up and down the country with DUP people. They were supported by every political party. I spoke in the Ulster Hall on the 6th of December, and on the 6th of December, Nigel Dodge shared a platform. I'd already shared a platform in the Spectrum Centre in the Shankill Road with him. He assured me privately, he assured the people in the Shankill Road and in North Belfast Orange Hall, and he assured people in the Ulster Hall that the DUP would never accede to an Irish Language Act. They would never accede to it. And they'd done it weeks later. I said in the Ulster Hall on the 6th of December that the battle would start on the 13th of December when the results of the general election were known. I stood there and I fully believed that we would be fighting that battle together as united unionists supporting the DUP. We knew that they were going to come under pressure to go back into Stormont, and we believed we would be standing beside them, fighting alongside them. And what did they do? They betrayed us all. They betrayed us all. They are traitors. They know about this. They're not here. They've shunned every overture that we have made to them. They've shunned every one. And I was at a meeting on Thursday night with some good people, and we had two senior defectors from the DUP there, and they had the inside information. And the DUP strategy is as it's always been. Strategy is a wrong word. Strategy means you're actually planning something. There's a bit of degree of sense to it. They don't have a strategy. Their strategy for fighting the general election was hoping that there'd be a hung parliament at Westminster, and they could influence decisions. They had 2 years to influence decisions. 2 years. And they influenced nothing for the betterment of the people of Northern Ireland. They done what the DUP do best. They extorted money. They extorted money. And by extorting the money and going down that road, instead of fighting for the constitutional, for the betterment of the people of this country, that extorting money made it very, very, very easy for conservatives to stab us in the back 2 years later. They owed no loyalty to the DUP. Because the Confidence and Supply Agreement only committed them to agreeing or supporting what they agreed on. So what sort of people have to be paid to support something that they believe in? It's extortion. It's wrong. And it made the people of Northern Ireland, it made us look like the spongers that we once called back in 1972 by Harold Wilson, I believe. I put a comment on a post when they first asked for their 1 billion, and I put a comment on the DUP post, not in my name. They had the opportunity to influence these decisions that are being made today in respect of veterans. They had the opportunity to get change at Stormont. They had that at the St Andrews Agreement as well, and they have failed. And they fail simply because they put party before country, before the people. They put profit before the country. They put self-gain and they put self-interest. And if anybody wants to come and discuss with me privately, we'll go through every scandal that they've been involved in. But in 2 years' time, we will get the same ploy. If you don't vote for us, you'll get Sinn Féin. Well, my friends, we did vote for them and we've got Sinn Féin. I was an ardent DUP supporter, like I'm sure many people here today. Well, I stopped a few years ago, and they came to my door one Saturday morning, The wife's not going to like me saying it. And I chased him. And she came down the stairs and said, why did you have to be so ignorant to them? Why did you have to be so ignorant? And my words were something like, go down the short strand and rap their doors. Don't come and rap my door. I was in Fermanagh then 2 weeks ago, and a DUP guy was there, nice guy, and he stood. And he tried to justify why they accepted the Irish Language Act, why they went back into Stormont. And he said, when we rapped the doors, people were saying they wanted Stormont back. They wanted Stormont back. Well, nobody rapped my door. Did anybody rap your doors?
No.
Whose doors did they rap? They were terrified because they lost a few votes steel hands. Well, they should be more terrified now, because I've been to several meetings, I've been up and down the country, and they've lost a lot more votes. They will certainly never get mine, regardless of what the promise is.
Vote them out.
Vote them out. Vote them out. The power sits with us, friends. The power sits with us. So, without going on, because this is a veteran cause rally, the prosecutions and investigations and the future ones that are going to come down the line, and the guys who are in the judicial system at this point in time, any legislation that is enacted at Westminster will not apply to people that are in the corrupt judicial system of Northern Ireland. It will not apply to them. So we've got 3 soldiers facing charges of murder: Soldier ANC from the Parachute Regiment, Soldier F from the Parachute Regiment, David Holden, a Grenadier Guardsman, and Dennis Hutchings, Blues and Royals. Them guys are going to court. Them guys are going to court. And as it stands today, my friends, as it stands today, the 3 Parachute Regiment soldiers who are facing charges of murder, and when you listen, and if it is a Diplock judge, and when you listen to a judge as we didn't in Gannon, they have little chance. They have little chance, because the evidence is fabricated against them, and I make no apology for saying that it's fabricated evidence. The only defence the soldiers have is what happened on the day. Now, no soldier, no military person, no policeman left the security of their base with the intent to commit murder or commit harm on anyone. We left our bases to protect life and property on each and every occasion. Well, my friends, I think it's a hen party. We left our bases to protect life and property. The terrorists every day were the complete opposite. Every day in life they were out to destroy life and property. And when a soldier or a policeman found himself in a situation where he had to make a split-second decision to apply lethal force. And thankfully, as it happens today, I never find myself in that position. I find myself in many incidents. I served in Northern Ireland in the 70s, 80s and 90s. But the policeman or the soldier who found himself, and he made that decision in good faith, that life was in danger, his or somebody else's, he cannot be guilty of a crime. He cannot be guilty of a crime. I would not stand here today and say that innocent people did not lose their lives to the hands of security forces, either police or military. Of course they did. Of course they did. When a soldier makes that split-second decision, innocent people are going to get killed. But don't blame the soldier, don't blame the policeman, blame those who choose to bring weapons of war onto the streets and into the fields of Northern Ireland. They are the people who are responsible. My friends, we've got many policemen around us here today, and if somebody decided to open up with weapons of war, we would be dependent on them men to protect us, to step in and protect us.
Is that the same police force? Gary Kelly's police force?
You have a Duke of a Chief Constable now, you have a Duke of a Assistant.
We have, but some of them aren't too bad. There's a lot of ex-RUC men among them, and I would not stand.
I'm not going to any rank.
Yeah, well, we would. I'll rephrase it. We would be depending on them to protect us, to step in and protect us. But the likelihood is that there'd be innocent people. There would be innocent people killed, hurt, or whatever. It wouldn't be their fault, it would be the fault of whoever came out on the streets. So we have got soldiers, and I use the argument, I write many letters, I petition many MPs. I've just got the standard letter back from Downing Street last Saturday morning that my latest letter has been sent to the Ministry of Defence, and no doubt I'll get the same answers back from them. But very, very simple. I base my argument, and I'm not a legal person, simply on intent and belief. There was never intent on our military or our police when they deployed on duty to protect the people of Northern Ireland. There was never any intent to go out and inflict harm on anyone. The intent was to protect life and to protect property. If, as I say, they found themselves in a situation where they had to apply lethal force, if they believed that that decision was justified, then they can't be guilty of a crime. And I look back in March 2019, Karen Bradley, we all remember Karen Bradley, the last Secretary of State. I'm not sure if she's worse or better than the last one, but it's a draw. But anyway, Karen Bradley in the House of Commons in Westminster stated in March 2019 that soldier killings were not crimes. Soldier killings were not crimes. She stated that. And that wasn't a mistake. That wasn't a mistake. She said exactly what I say. She's saying what the government know. She's saying what everybody knows. They weren't crimes in the sense of the word that it was premeditated murder. Karen Bradley, and I've no time for her, but Karen Bradley came under so much pressure for saying them words in the House of Commons that Karen Bradley had to withdraw them within one day. So my friends, as Dennis Hutchings said, we're facing a battle today, and we need support. We need people to support it. We need to raise this battle. We need to highlight this battle, and we must stand by those that are facing court. You probably listened to me enough. We're going to conclude, as we always do when we have any veteran rally, we're going to conclude with an act of remembrance and our national anthem. So we will play the last post. We will have 2 minutes of dignified silence which will remember those that's gone before us, those that laid down their lives in every conflict for us all. They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor their years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them.
We will remember them.